Somewhere, right now, someone is paying $40 a month for a gym membership they have not used since February. Someone else just bought an extended warranty on a refrigerator. Another person is sitting in a college lecture hall, 8 minutes into a class they paid $1,200 to attend, and the professor is reading directly from a slide that is also in the textbook they paid $200 for. None of these people think they are being reckless with money. They think they are being responsible. That is the part nobody talks about. The most expensive things in modern life are not the obvious luxuries. They are the things that used to make perfect sense, the things your parents swore by, the things the system quietly relies on you to keep buying without ever stopping to do the math. This video is about the math. Not the dramatic blow-up-your-budget kind, the slow, invisible, compounding kind, the kind that does not hurt on any given Tuesday but adds up to years of your financial life spent on things that stopped delivering real value a long time ago. 10 things. Some will surprise you, some will make you uncomfortable, a few might make you a little angry. Let's start with the one hiding inside your living room. 1. Cable television. In 2010, the average American cable bill was around $70 a month. Today, when you factor in equipment fees, regional sports surcharges, broadcast fees, and the taxes that appear nowhere in the advertised price, that number sits closer to $170. For many households, it is well over $200. That's $2,400 a year to watch things you mostly do not watch. Nielsen data consistently shows that the average cable subscriber has access to roughly 200 channels and regularly watches around 17 of them. You are paying for 183 channels of television you will never turn on every month. The cable industry knows this. They've always known this. The bundling model was never designed to give you value. It was designed to make it impossible to pay only for what you want. You cannot buy ESPN without also buying the Golf Channel and 3 regional shopping networks. That was the deal, and for decades there was no alternative deal. Now there is. Streaming services, even stacked on top of each other, rarely cost more than $80 a month. More commonly, people spend $30 to $50. The content quality is, by most objective measures, significantly higher. The flexibility is complete, and there is no 2-year contract with a termination fee buried on page 9 of the welcome packet. Cable is not dying slowly. It lost over 5 million subscribers last year alone. The people still paying for it are largely doing so out of inertia, out of habit, out of the quiet, persistent belief that changing things is harder than it is. It takes about 15 minutes to cancel cable. Most people have been meaning to do it for 3 years. 2. Extended warranties. The extended warranty is one of the elegantly designed financial products in retail history, and that's meant neither as a compliment nor an insult. It's simply an observation. Here's how it works. You buy something, an appliance, a laptop, a TV. The item already comes with a manufacturer's warranty, usually 1 year, sometimes 2. The retailer then offers you additional protection for a fee. The pitch sounds responsible. What if something goes wrong? What if it breaks right after the manufacturer's warranty expires? What the retailer does not tell you is their margin on that warranty. Best Buy, to use one example, has acknowledged in investor materials that warranty programs are among their highest margin products. Industry-wide, retailers keep between 50 and 80 cents of every dollar spent on extended warranties. That's not a protection product. That's a profit center disguised as peace of mind. Consumer Reports has studied this for years. Their conclusion is consistent. For most consumer electronics and appliances, the extended warranty costs more than the expected repair costs over the same period. The math simply does not work in your favor. There are 2 exceptions worth noting: complex appliances with historically poor reliability records, and situations where you have genuinely no financial cushion to absorb a large repair bill. For everyone else, the extended warranty is a bet you are statistically likely to lose. The more interesting question is why it works so well. And the answer is not stupidity. The answer is that humans are disproportionately afraid of large, sudden losses compared to small, certain ones. Paying $80 now to avoid a potential $300 repair feels rational. The math says otherwise, but the math doesn't feel anything. Fear does. 3. New cars. A new car loses between 15 and 25% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. That sentence has been repeated so many times it has lost its ability to shock. So let's make it concrete. You buy a $35,000 car. You drive home. You are now sitting in a $27,000 car at most. That $8,000 difference didn't go anywhere useful. It went into the air. This is not a new phenomenon. What is relatively new is how dramatically the used car market has improved. 10 years ago, buying used carried real risk. Supply was unpredictable, vehicle history was opaque, and certified pre-owned programs were limited. Today, Carfax reports are standard. Certified pre-owned programs from manufacturers offer warranties nearly identical to new car coverage. Online marketplaces have made comparison shopping trivially easy. A 3-year-old vehicle with 30,000 miles on it typically still has the majority of its useful life ahead of it. It has already absorbed the steepest portion of the depreciation curve, and it costs on average 30 to 40% less than its new equivalent. The new car is not just an expensive purchase. It's an expensive purchase that requires financing, which means interest, which means the true cost is still higher. The average new car loan in the United States now carries a term of 68 months. People are making payments on cars for nearly 6 years on a depreciating asset, while the car continues to lose value for every month of those 6 years. This is the uncomfortable arithmetic of new cars. The new smell costs more than most people ever sit down to calculate. 4. Brand name pharmaceuticals. This one requires some care because medication is not a trivial subject, but the facts here are worth understanding clearly. Generic drugs contain the same active ingredient, in the same dosage, and the same delivery mechanism as their brand name equivalents. The FDA requires this. It's not a matter of opinion or marketing. A generic ibuprofen and Advil are chemically identical where it counts. The price difference is not. Brand name drugs are routinely priced 300, 500, sometimes over 1,000% higher than their generic counterparts. The packaging is different, the marketing budget behind the brand is substantial, the active chemistry is the same. The reasons people pay for brand names anyway are mostly psychological. Familiarity, a long-standing habit, a vague but persistent feeling that the brand name version simply works better. Studies have tested this belief under controlled conditions. When patients don't know which version they're taking, the outcomes are statistically indistinguishable. The exception, and it is a real one, is certain medications where bioavailability and absorption rates are clinically significant. Your doctor or pharmacist can tell you whether a given medication falls into that category. For most over-the-counter products and many common prescriptions, it does not. The difference between the brand and the generic is not efficacy, it's advertising. 5. College degrees in oversaturated fields. Before the wave of disagreement arrives, let's be precise about what is and is not being claimed here. A college degree is not worthless. Some degrees, in specific fields, remain among the highest return investments a person can make. Engineering, nursing, computer science, accounting. The data on lifetime earnings is clear and favorable for these paths. The claim is narrower and more specific. A 4-year degree in a field with structurally poor employment prospects and median starting salaries that cannot service the debt required to obtain the degree is, by a straightforward financial analysis, a poor investment. And there are a lot of those degrees being sold right now. The average student loan debt at graduation in the United States currently is over $37,000. For graduate degrees, the numbers climb into 6 figures routinely. Against starting salaries in many humanities and communications fields that sit between $35,000 and $45,000 annually, the repayment math becomes genuinely brutal. Federal income-driven repayment plans can stretch the obligation to 20 or 25 years. Some borrowers will pay for their education literally until retirement age. The institution selling you this degree has a significant financial interest in you enrolling. The counselors who advise high school students on college options are often evaluated on how many students they send to 4-year programs, not on what happens to those students financially afterwards. None of this means don't go to college. It means go to college with both eyes open. Know what the median salary in your intended field looks like. Know what the total cost of the degree will be, including interest. Do the math before you sign, not after. 6. Daily coffee shop visits. The number is embarrassing once you do it. So let's do it. A $5 coffee, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. That is $1,250 annually. Over 10 years, $12,500. Invested in a basic index fund at historical average returns, that money becomes somewhere between $17,000 and $22,000 over the same period. For coffee. Now, the counter-argument is real and worth acknowledging. The coffee shop visit is not purely about coffee. It is about a moment of transition in the day, a small ritual, a few minutes of warmth or quiet or social familiarity. For some people, it is the only moment of genuine pleasure in a morning that otherwise belongs entirely to obligation. That has value. Human experience has value. This video is not trying to reduce your life to a spreadsheet. But there is a difference between a deliberate, chosen pleasure and a habit so embedded you have stopped experiencing it as a choice. Most daily coffee shop visits fall into the second category. The enjoyment is low. The cost is real. The autopilot is completely on. The question is not whether to spend money on pleasure. The question is whether this particular pleasure is still delivering what you were paying for, or whether it became invisible a long time ago. 7. Timeshares. There are roughly 9.5 million timeshare owners in the United States. The majority of them would like to stop being timeshare owners. Many of them cannot figure out how. The timeshare is a masterpiece of sales psychology. The presentations are designed to be exhausting, hours long, built to wear down resistance. They typically involve free meals, free entertainment, and a high-pressure close that leverages the vacation mood of the moment. People sign contracts they would never sign in their normal lives, in their normal states of mind. The financial reality of timeshares is stark. They depreciate to near zero almost immediately upon purchase. There is essentially no secondary market for them. People list timeshares for $1 on resale sites, and they still cannot find buyers. Meanwhile, the annual maintenance fees, which average around $1,000 and increase regularly, continue regardless of whether you use the property. There is a secondary industry that has grown up around helping timeshare owners exit their contracts. That industry is itself rife with fraud. People pay thousands of dollars to exit companies that take the money and disappear, leaving the owners still bound to their original contract. The timeshare is not a real estate investment. It is a prepaid vacation product with a mandatory annual fee and no exit. The people selling it to you know this. The presentation they give you is designed specifically to prevent you from knowing it until the paperwork is signed. 8. Lottery tickets. The expected value of a lottery ticket is negative. That is not an opinion. That is arithmetic. A typical state lottery returns somewhere between 50 and 60 cents in prize money for every dollar collected. The rest goes to administration and government programs. This means that on average, for every dollar you spend on lottery tickets, you will receive back 50 to 60 cents. Over time, with any volume of play, this is a reliable mechanism for losing money. The counterargument is that you are not buying a financial instrument. You are buying a fantasy. $2 for the brief, luminous possibility that everything could change. And for $2, that is arguably fair. The problem is that lottery ticket purchases are not distributed evenly across income levels. Research consistently shows that lower-income households spend a significantly higher percentage of their income on lottery tickets than higher-income households do. The people with the least financial cushion are the ones most heavily financing the jackpots that, statistically, they will never win. This is the uncomfortable irony of the lottery. It is often described as a voluntary tax. It functions in practice as a regressive one. 9. Subscription services you forgot you have. This is not about streaming services specifically. This is about the entire category. The subscription economy was architected deliberately around human forgetfulness and the psychology of small amounts. $8 a month doesn't feel like anything. $14 a month doesn't feel like anything. The genius of the model is that individually, none of it does. Collectively, it adds up to something significant, and the frictionless renewal ensures that most people never stop to assess it as a whole. The average American now spends over $230 per month on subscription services. That's according to recent consumer research. When those same consumers are asked to estimate their monthly subscription spending, the median guess is $80. The actual number is nearly 3 times higher. There is a reason cancellation requires a phone call, a waiting period, a retention offer, and 3 confirmation screens. The design of the exit is intentional. Every day of friction is another day of revenue. The fix for this particular item is trivially simple. 90 minutes once a year. Every subscription, every renewal. Keep the ones earning their place, cancel the rest. The money recovered is, for most people, genuinely surprising. 10. The belief that inflation will stay manageable. This last one is different from the others. It's not a product, it's not a service. It's a financial assumption so widely held, so quietly embedded in how most people plan their lives, that questioning it still feels slightly alarmist. From roughly 1990 through 2020, the developed world experienced what economists call the Great Moderation. Inflation stayed low. Interest rates stayed manageable. The system hummed. People built financial plans around the assumption that it would continue indefinitely. Then, between 2021 and 2023, cumulative inflation in the United States ran above 20%. Grocery prices rose sharply. Housing costs accelerated dramatically. Insurance premiums surged across nearly every category. The purchasing power of money saved in low-yield accounts was silently, steadily eroded. The people most exposed to this were the ones who kept large amounts of cash in savings accounts yielding near zero, did not own assets that appreciated with inflation, and built budgets that assumed stable prices in perpetuity. This was not reckless behavior. It was the entirely rational behavior of people operating on 30 years of precedent. The uncomfortable truth is that economic systems do not offer guarantees. The conditions that made the Great Moderation possible were specific and particular. They are not laws of nature. Inflation does not respect the plans you made when it was absent. The real cost of this assumption is not visible in any single purchase. It is visible across a lifetime of financial decisions made under a premise that may no longer hold. Close. 10 things, some of them mundane, a few of them structural, all of them connected by the same quiet mechanism, the gap between what something costs and what it is currently worth. The gap is not random. In most cases, it is the result of deliberate design, bundling that prevents selective purchasing, sales psychology engineered around specific cognitive weaknesses, systems that profit from your inertia, your forgetfulness, and your entirely reasonable reluctance to stop and do the math. None of this requires you to become a radical minimalist or treat every dollar as a philosophical commitment. Most people who live well financially are not extreme about any individual thing. They're just slightly more deliberate than average, slightly more willing to ask whether the value is still real or whether they are still paying for something that earned its price in a different decade, under different conditions, for a different version of themselves. The question worth sitting with is not which of these 10 things applies to you. It is what else might. Because the products and services on this list are not the only ones operating on the assumption that you are not paying close attention. Most of them are counting on it.